The first thing I saw when I stepped out of my car after 10 years away was a police badge glinting in the sun, and a woman screaming my name like she'd been waiting a decade to do it. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from, because what happened next still feels unreal even as I tell it now. The air smelled like cut grass and hot asphalt, and for a second I thought maybe I'd driven into the wrong neighborhood. Then I heard her voice again, sharp and familiar, cutting through everything like a siren that never turns off. I had imagined this return 100 times while I was gone. Quiet, emotional, maybe bittersweet. I pictured unlocking my old front door, dust in the air, memories stacked in the corners like forgotten boxes. This house was supposed to be my anchor, the one thing that stayed mine while life took everything else. The street looked almost the same sidewalks, same mailboxes, same big oak tree at the corner. But something felt tense, like the neighborhood itself was holding its breath. I barely had time to grab my bag when she stormed across the street, heels clicking like gunshots. Karen. That wasn't her real name, but it fit her too perfectly. She'd been the HOA president back when I left, the kind of woman who measured grass with a ruler and power with how loudly she could speak. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, not with surprise but with triumph, like she'd been rehearsing this moment in her mirror for years. "You don't belong here," she snapped, pointing a manicured finger at my chest. Her perfume hit me next, sweet, overpowering, almost nauseating. "This property was abandoned. You can't just show up after 10 years and think you own it." I tried to answer, to explain, but she turned away dramatically and waved toward the man standing near the curb. That's when I noticed him fully. Dark uniform, tactical vest, boots planted wide like he owned the pavement. The man looked official enough at first glance. Black vest, radio clipped to his shoulder, sunglasses hiding his eyes, but something was off. The patches on his sleeves didn't match anything I recognized, and his badge looked too shiny, like it had just come out of a costume shop package. Still, when he started walking toward me, every instinct in my body tightened. Authority has a way of doing that, even when it's fake. "Sir," he said, voice low and practiced, "we've had reports of trespassing. I'm going to need you to step away from the property." His hand hovered near his belt, not quite touching anything but close enough to send a clear message. Karen crossed her arms behind him, a thin smile curling her lips. I could hear doors opening up and down the street, curtains shifting, the quiet hum of curiosity spreading like electricity. "This is my house," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. "I've owned it for over 15 years. Karen laughed loud and sharp, the kind of laugh meant to embarrass. "Owned," she repeated. "You disappeared. The HOA took action. We have rules." She pulled out a stack of papers and waved them like a weapon, though she didn't hand them over. The fake cop stepped closer, close enough that I could smell stale coffee on his breath. "Sir, if you don't comply, I can detain you," he said. That word "detain" sent a chill down my spine. I looked around and saw faces peeking from porches, neighbors I barely recognized anymore. Watching like this was some kind of afternoon entertainment. I realized then that Karen wasn't just trying to scare me. She was putting on a show. I thought about the years I'd been gone, the reasons I left, the sacrifices that kept this place legally mine even when I couldn't live in it. I thought about how easily a lie said loudly enough could turn into a weapon. My hands clenched at my sides as Karen leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper meant only for me. "You should have stayed gone," she said, eyes cold and confident, as the man beside her shifted his weight and reached for his radio. The sound of that radio crackling, even before he touched it, made something snap inside me. Not fear, clarity. I looked closer now, really looked. The vest straps were cheap nylon. The badge had no number. The radio cord wasn't even plugged into anything. My pulse slowed, replaced by a strange calm that only comes when you realize the monster under the bed is just shadows. Karen didn't notice my change in posture, but the man did. His jaw tightened. "Call your supervisor," I said quietly. The fake cop blinked behind his sunglasses. "Excuse me," he asked. I raised my voice just enough so the neighbors could hear. "If you're law enforcement, call your supervisor, or dispatch, right now." A murmur rippled through the small crowd gathering at the ends of driveways. Corinne's smile faltered for half a second before she recovered and laughed again, too loudly. "He's trying to intimidate you," she snapped at the man. "Do your job." She turned to the neighbors, spreading her arms like a preacher. "This man abandoned his home for 10 years. The HOA has been maintaining order. We can't let people like this just waltz back in." I caught the word "people like this" and felt its weight land heavy in my chest. Some neighbors shifted uncomfortably. Others nodded, unsure but curious. The fake cop cleared his throat. "Sir, last warning," he said, but his voice had lost its confidence. I pulled my phone out slowly, deliberately, and held it up. "Great," I said. "Then you won't mind me recording. Impersonating an officer is a felony, you know." Corinne's face drained of color so fast it was almost impressive. "You're lying," she hissed. "He's real." "Then say your badge number," I challenged, eyes locked on him. Silence stretched. A car drove past slowly, the sound of tires on pavement absurdly loud. Someone across the street whispered, "Is he real?" The man shifted again, his boots scraping slightly, and that tiny nervous sound told me everything. Corinne stepped forward, blocking him from view. "We're done here," she said sharply. "Leave now or we'll have you arrested." That's when an older man from 2 houses down spoke up. "Arrested by who?" he asked. He stepped closer, squinting at the uniform. "I was a deputy for 30 years. I don't recognize that patch." The crowd leaned in. Corinne spun around, eyes blazing. "This doesn't concern you," she snapped. The fake cop took a step back, sweat beading at his temple. I felt years of silence and restraint burn away. "You forged HOA documents," I said, loud and clear. "You trespassed. And now you hired someone to pretend to be a cop to scare me off my own property." Gasps rose around us. Corinne opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she looked unsure. Papers fluttered from her hand to the ground, and I bent to pick one up. The document was sloppy. Wrong dates, wrong signatures. I held it up. "This is fake," I said, "just like him." The fake cop turned and started backing away. "I don't need this," he muttered, pulling at his vest. Corinne grabbed his arm. "Don't you dare," she hissed. That touch sealed it. Neighbors pulled out phones. Someone shouted, "Call the real police." Sirens weren't there yet, but the idea of them hung in the air like thunder. The fake cop yanked his arm free and bolted toward a parked car. Corinne screamed after him, a sound raw and panicked, nothing like the controlled authority she'd worn moments before. The crowd buzzed now, voices overlapping, judgment replacing curiosity. I stood there, holding the fake document, realizing this wasn't just about my house anymore. It was about a lie finally collapsing under its own weight as Corinne turned on me, eyes wild, and shouted that she would ruin me for good. The real police arrived 15 minutes later, lights flashing red and blue against the neat houses like a stain that wouldn't wash out. By then, the fake cop was gone, but the damage was done. Corinne tried to reclaim control the moment the officers stepped out, talking fast, waving her hands, painting herself as the victim. I stayed quiet, heart steady, letting the truth breathe for once. The officer listened, eyes moving between us, taking in the phone still recording, the neighbors crowding close. When I handed over the documents, the officer's expression changed. He flipped through them carefully, then looked up at Corinne. "Ma'am, these signatures don't match county records," he said, "and impersonating an officer is a serious crime." Corinne's voice cracked. "I didn't impersonate anyone," she snapped. "He did," she pointed wildly down the street. "He ran." The officer nodded slowly. "We'll be looking for him, but hearing him makes you complicit." The older former deputy stepped forward and backed me up, calm and precise. Others added what they'd seen, each voice another nail in the coffin Corinne had been building for herself. Her authority dissolved in real time, replaced by desperation. She argued, she threatened lawsuits. She even tried to blame me for leaving, as if absence erased ownership. The officer finally raised a hand. "Enough," he said firmly. "Ma'am, you're going to need a lawyer." Watching Corinne realize she'd lost was surreal. Her shoulders sagged. Her confidence evaporated. Neighbors who once nodded at her power now stepped back, seeing her clearly for the first time. The HOA board met within a week. She was removed. Charges followed: fraud, harassment, conspiracy. The fake cop was caught days later, his vest nothing more than cheap props. I stood in my living room that night, windows open, listening to the quiet hum of the neighborhood. The house smelled like dust and old wood, familiar and grounding. Justice hadn't come with fireworks, just steady accountability. Authority without truth collapses. Power built on lies always eats itself. If this story reminded you that standing your ground matters, hit like, share it, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my place?